Hi, this is Trish Gastineau, and today we are here with one of my dear friends, Laura Massoni from Laura Massoni Travel. See Italy, actually, now the name has changed.
That's right.
And we welcome you to Trish Talks Travel. Today, I wanted to have Laura as my special guest because we both have the same passion to create authentic, unique trips. And my love is Europe, and her specialty is Italy. So we get along very well together. So welcome, Laura. Happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Trish. I am so excited that you asked me to be here. You know how much I love to do talks about my home country, and I am so excited to be able to, maybe shed some lights on some of your travelers that want to go to Italy and discover unusual places and authentic places, as you mentioned. So thank you.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. And I know you're a very busy woman, but I also know that you love to share about the cool things that you guys can put together when you work with the travel advisor to make the client's trip unique. So that's great. So as we move forward here, of course, there we go. Laura's company is See Italy. And she does an excellent job of doing some really unusual things. The typical cities for Italy when the first time traveler comes, what are those, Laura?
Well, as you know, everybody that goes to Italy wants to see Rome, Florence, and Venice, and I suggest that they do that. Because when they'll come back home, if they don't do those three cities, or at least one of them, people will start asking them, did you see Rome? Have you ever been to Florence? Have you ever, went on a gondola ride in Venice? So I do tell them that those are the three must when they go to Italy, at least for the first time. So yes, those are wonderful cities, very touristy at times, but we can always find again, authentic places, give them the best experience that they think they can get, and they will get by traveling with us and by booking through you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that is when I get people going, that is the first three places that they want to go for me also. So I guess that I'm just like everybody else out there. And as you said, though, there's like the typical things to see in these cities. And you want to see the highlights that everybody sees, but you also want to do things maybe that your friends and neighbors didn't get to do. So that's where you and I come in, right?
That's right. That's right. And as you know, every time before we put together an itinerary, we always interview our customers so that we make sure that we give them what they want. Yeah.
There. I'm going to move us around there. I don't know if it's moving on your screen, but I'm moving us here.
That's okay. I'll still see you and focus on your cute face.
Oh, you're sweet.
Thank you. So yes, so like I was saying, as an example, if I may touch on Venice, since you have this pretty picture on it, Venice was built on water. It is only walkable, so you cannot take the car, let's say, from the train station to go into Venice. The only way to move around is either by public transportation called the Vaporetto, or by taking those gorgeous private boats. And if you're lucky, you even see a famous person on the other one that crosses on the other side.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I have a question. I know that when I'm working with you and Valentina and I'm booking my clients these private transfers, that you take care of everything that my client needs. But I've had people call me and ask me, they'll say something like, Trish, can I pick your brain for a minute? And I'll say, yeah. And they said, we're working on getting our transfers, and should we take the one with the assistance or without the assistance? And for me, I'm always like, take assistance. I don't know what that means, take it. But what does that mean? What are the differences between those transfers? And how can it affect your trip?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what I would suggest at the end of my explanation, and it'll probably shed some light as to why I say that. There are three types of transfers. The one where you try to find your way to the landing area where the boats are, and you still have the private boat that takes you to your hotel. You can reverse engineer and go back to your terminal and have somebody that tells you with a piece of paper on them that says, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, you need to go over there, go to the landing stage area, pick up your private boat, and they'll take you to your hotel." The third one, and it's the one that I would recommend, is the deluxe transfer, which is the one where your assistant with the cute name on the page. Yeah,
I love my name on a sign.
Oh, I remember from when you came to Rome that has the sign with your name on it and says, "Come with me. I will take you to your private car that will take you for, I would say, 3/4 of a mile to your landing area, where the boat is waiting for you." This is the deluxe one. But the reason why I am suggesting this, it's not because it's called deluxe, okay? But it is because when you get or arrive in Venice at the airport, at the train station, it is so overwhelming. You have so many people trying to help you, so many people that try to sell you transfers, kind of like sometimes when you go to Mexico, that you have everybody trying to suck you in. You don't want that to happen to you, because then you're losing the experience of just arriving there and moving to your hotel. And it's a smooth process. And this is why I say the deluxe is the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. One time my husband Kent had me pull my luggage over cobblestone a half a mile, and that didn't work for me. I just decided when I get off of an international flight or even anywhere, I don't want to drag my luggage over cobblestone at all. Yeah. So, yes, that's great. Thank you so much for that explanation.
No problem. And as you can see, I mean, Venice is on the eastern part of Italy. It's one of the last regions. We don't call them state, we call them regions, before they get to either Austria or Croatia, okay? It is quite humid in that area. There is a river that goes through that area and that arrives in the Sea of Venice. So, it does tend to get cold and humid in the winter, but especially hot with lots of bugs in the summer. So bring the sunscreen. But it has, I would say, if we were to compare it with a U.S. city, it probably has the same weather as Boston,
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. So it does get quite cold. The Veneto region is the state where Venice, the capital, is. Yeah. And I don't know if you want me to go through the main highlights of the city, or if you would like to touch them. I'll be more than happy to do that if you wish. Yeah.
Well, I know that these are the must-sees, if you will, of when you're going to go to Venice. These are the things that most travelers are going to do. Is that correct?
That is correct. And if you look at the second and third sentence, let's call it this way, or site to visit, I think those are the two musts that you have to do to understand the political and religious history of Venice. Okay, the St. Mark's Basilica is obviously where the religious power used to be, and then the Doge's Palace is where the political power, used to happen way back when. Then obviously there are the gondola rides, the Grand Canal tours. You could go through the Rialto Bridge and see St. Mark's Square with all the pigeons, and really experience both the square, the St. Mark's Square, during the day and at night. You'll see the difference, or maybe even go at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody's beautiful.
Tell me about the pigeons. Did I hear that we are not allowed to feed them anymore, or did I make that up in my mind?
No, you did not. And actually, it's because they just reproduce. And they keep like calling each other and go like, "Hey, there is food here." So it's better not to feed them, especially if you don't want an accident happening on one of your shoulders, okay? Which to Italians, believe it or not,
Good
it's
luck, right?
luck. There you go.
Funny. Oh,
I
that's
tell my
great.
kids all the time. Yes.
So now, what is this here that we're looking at?
Well, as you probably have heard, and your travelers have heard, Venice is very famous for glass making, but it's also famous for mosaic making. They have been doing that technique of making little glass mosaics since the 1800s. And there is a school on the island of Venice that has classes, even day classes. You could see the artisans, melt the glass and really observe the technique that they have. There are not as many artisans as there used to be, but the families that are there have been doing that job for generations. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
very fascinating, yeah. And
Okay.
it's very kid friendly, so the kids don't get bored.
Yeah, that's the thing because kids can really like mess your trip up in a heartbeat if they're not happy, right?
Oh, yes.
I just say that because I have children, even though they're older, I can remember.
That's right. That's right. And this is another great activity, the Venetian Mask Workshop. I would say it's so much fun to do. They can just observe or they can make their own mask. But
Oh,
as you know, masks used to be used, throughout the centuries for noble men and women to go throughout the city so that they wouldn't be recognized. And then it became a tradition also during the carnival season, which is the month of February. It is amazing to go into Venice in the month of February. There are so many parties. And there are parties for all kinds of ages. There is even like a dance techno party, let's say.
oh,
So
wow.
if you have youngsters that don't want to really do the ball and the dance with old costumes, they could just wear the mask. And there are several dance parties going on. The city really becomes alive. Yeah.
See, and that's great because that's not something that's like mainstream knowledge for travelers to know that there is a possibility that if you're going in a multi-generational group that you could split up and then come back together afterwards and do something. So I think that's wonderful.
Exactly. No, that's a great idea, especially if you have, let's say, people that don't mind spending a little bit more. You can even divide, let's say, the family into separate groups. Yeah.
Okay.
And do it by interest. Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody's got a different energy level.
That's
So,
right. Right. And did you know, as you can see on the slide, that Venice has the oldest Jewish ghetto? And ghetto comes from the Italian word ghetto. It's actually said
didn't
ghetto.
know that.
Yeah.
Now say it again.
Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And you even said it with a Venetian accent, funny enough. Good job, Trish.
That's with the South here. We can pick up stuff. Yeah.
It's funny, but there is a synagogue there. I would say that people that really follow that religion do not live in the ghetto anymore. But after the ghetto tour or after their, Saturday, I wouldn't call it mass. I don't know how to call it because do you know how they call it? I really
Um,
don't know.
oh goodness gracious.
Anyways.
I do know, but no, I can't put my finger on it right now because you've asked me.
Yeah, that's okay. But I mean, afterwards, you can continue and really dig in, even if you, again, or I don't follow that particular
Like
type
a
of religion.
Shabbat service.
Yeah, like a service. There you go. I
Okay.
think that the good thing about it is to follow it with a lunch, a typical lunch in one of their restaurants or a dinner, depending on the time that you do it. But it's really, really fascinating to learn about the history. And Italians have been very, very accommodating to the Jewish culture. So yes, because afterwards, Italians all they care about is a good meal all together. So we have no problem with anybody.
Okay, so, and then just like on any other vacation that you help me arrange, you're able to give us, I see, recommendations for kosher restaurants if we need it.
That is correct. Yes, yes. So if you don't want to follow it with, let's say, a traditional meal where everybody tells you, okay, they have this meal during, I don't know, Passover or this and that, you can just go to a traditional restaurant and just have a real good kosher meal. That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. That's great to know. I was unaware of that. See, we learn every day.
That's right.
So now this looks lovely. Are we making boats?
Yes, believe it or not, there are a lot. I mean, a lot, but not as many as there used to be again, because, the demand keeps going down. But in Venice, they do the Squero tour, or we do the Squero tour. But the Squero is basically the place where the gondolas are being built, or the boats that are being used throughout the Venetian canals, because Venice has very shallow waters. So you need to have specific boats that are not too deep, because if not, they'll get stuck.
Yeah,
And
who wants that?
yeah, and if you see on the picture of the gondolas just sitting outside, you see that the gondolas are being pushed in the water. Once they're ordered and being delivered, they're just pushed through. They're not being carried around because they're afraid that they get ruined. They're done by hand. There is a way of, the families or people to go through one of those building docks and really see how it's being built. Yeah.
Oh, well, see, now that's interesting. Again, not something that, most typical tours are going to maybe offer something like that.
That's right. Right. And then there is the kayak in Venice. This is a lot of fun. I had a honeymoon couple that wanted to do something unusual in Venice, and they were afraid that the regular tours were going to make them bored. So what we do is we had them go through one of the tours, historical tour of Venice, kayaking.
Oh,
Different way also of seeing the city from the water. Since it's a walkable city, why not do it from the water at night anyways, or to go to the restaurants or to go to breakfast? You will walk the city, but then when you do this tour, you can do it from the water and see the buildings, on the side, as opposed to you being on the side of the building and looking at the water. So it's a different perspective.
it is. And I can see how, especially if you had maybe tweens or teens, that this would be something that might be attractive to that type of a family, even
Right.
to help the kids burn up some energy and keep them focused a little bit.
That is correct. Yes. It's very, very fun.
Oh, wow. See, again, more things. Now, this is what I like. I love going to a market.
I love the market tour. It's definitely one of the highlights, even if I have to say that I cook every single night. So for me, doing a cooking class is not my highlight in Italy, but I like to go with people that really enjoy it. And I always like to go through the market, because then they make you try little things. You buy, a few things. And don't be afraid of even just buying 2 peaches, 1 loaf of bread, just to try it, and 1 little piece of cheese. I mean, nobody will ever say no to stuff that you want to try and buy, especially if you look like you're curious, Really, when you have that attitude of opening your heart and asking questions, you will notice that your perspective changes and the people are more willing to help you. So they will never try to, anyways, I don't think that in markets they try to really take your money, but you will see even more that you change the perspective on that, and you will realize how wonderful they are. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, and by the way, yes, now that I'm looking at the slide too, I'm sorry. One good thing to do in Venice at night or before the dinner, the pre-dinner habits that Venetians have, is to do the cicchetti. And what it means is that you can go from one bar to another. And by the way, bars in Italy are a little bit different than the ones in the US, because when you go to a bar, you can go to a bar, get a coffee or get a drink, an alcoholic drink. It's all there. Okay. It's all called bar. But you go from one bar to another and try the appetizers that they have. You can purchase, let's say, a spritz, which is a typical Venetian drink with, Aperol and Prosecco mixed together, or other concussions at time too, because now they're getting creative. And they'll give you, either a free buffet or a plate to go with the drink that you've ordered. So you don't pay for the food, but you pay for the drink.
Okay. And then the drink that you were talking about, is that the beautiful orange colored one that we see a lot?
Yes. So that's what it is. Anytime that you see like an orangey, red kind of drink, that is what it is.
That's it. Okay. Interesting. Now I love Florence, and I think that it's just fascinating to me, but I know that I heard you telling somebody about a restaurant there, and I just have to put my hand over my mouth because I may have gone to that particular touristy restaurant. It was lovely, but I may have gone there. I don't know.
Well, everybody has made mistakes. We're not the only ones. We do the same when we travel in other countries. So I'll tell you more about the mistake when we plate of food, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, Florence is, the region of Tuscany is the region in the middle of the country. It is right underneath or right on top of the Lazio region where Rome is, and right underneath the Emilia-Romagna region, which is where Bologna is. And the cool thing about this region is that, not only it has wonderful wines, but it's also it has the water and wonderful islands off the coast of this particular region. Okay. So it's fun. Yeah. And the capital, let's say if we want to call it capital, is Florence. Yeah.
Okay. So the Florence area, somebody could stay in that particular area and maybe go out for day trips around there and have a great time and have a lot of things to see and do, right?
Correct. So if you have a customer or, that wants more nightlife, that likes to walk around and go to restaurants, I would suggest for them to stay in the city of Florence and then take day trips in the countryside. And the reason is because the countryside can be good for 1-2 days max, but then it can become boring. So everybody thinks, about this wonderful countryside view, but after you've experienced it for a couple of days, especially if you don't have a car, it can become a little bit too much.
Yes. So the list that we have here on our screen now, these are the typical sites that most tourists think of when they go into the Florence area. Is that correct?
Correct. Florence is also called the Renaissance City. And what it means is that it revived, or I would say it was born, from being a city or an area that had a lot of farmers. Okay. So during the 1500s, then it became more of a cultural city. And for example, in the Accademia, you'll see the works of Michelangelo, which was, one of the, sculptures and, during the Renaissance period. And then you could go to the Uffizi Gallery, see the Vasari Corridor. And the Vasari Corridor is basically over the Ponte Vecchio. And it's where the Medici family, they used to rule the region for many, many centuries, used to walk from one palace to the other so that they didn't have to mingle with the commoners.
Yes, who wants to mingle with the commoners, right?
Right. I love that, by the way. But anyways, then there is the Piazza della Signoria, which is a beautiful area. And if you've seen pictures of the David outside in a square, that's Piazza della Signoria. And that's not the real David, but it's a real good and beautiful copy of it. And you will find it again in the Accademia.
So I do have questions sometimes from people that don't have time to go to the I can't say it.
Uffizi.
Uffizi. But I have clients that are, have a hard time about whether they should go to the academia or to the Uffizi.
Brava.
Okay. And so they ask me which one, and usually we'll ask them, are you going to see the David because that's only at this one, but are you going, why are you going? What is your interest? And then usually I will run that by you or Valentina there, and you guys will help us get it all sorted out. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yes, you guys are just a wealth of knowledge. I love to travel, but I don't know everything. The important thing for me is making sure that I've got a good relationship with my
I agree.
travel partners so that I can go to them and knowing what their specialty is and ask them questions.
Right.
So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank
So,
you. Yeah, and after, I mean, as you know, after people usually go through Florence and do the main sites, what I would highly suggest, or even to combine it with the usual sites, is to go really have a feeling of what the city, even if touristy, has to offer from a human standpoint. So the artisan tour is very good because, first of all, it's a little bit further away from where all the crowds are. It's on the other side of the river. That's where the artisans still, operate. And it's a good way for people to exchange words with locals and ask them questions. Kind of like, what you're doing with me. It's fun, it's interactive. You'll get to learn things that you probably never knew, or for
mhm.
sure you never knew, and that, you get to ask and they'll answer right away. So it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, food. I love food.
I agree with you. I would say that Tuscany is one of the regions that has the most hearty and rich and good food. And I don't know if you've ever been, I know you've been to Florence, but your audience, if they've never been to Florence, and when they go, they might wonder why Florentine bread doesn't really taste like anything. They don't put salt in the bread, which means that they use it to compensate the richness of their food. And a good way of discovering, I would say, each and every single area of Italy is to try their food, but also take food tours. Okay, because if you go to Rome, they have a different way of cooking like Venice does. And because we used to have 20 regions in Italy, now we are one full country. Everybody cooks differently. And it's kind of like in the US, you guys have grits, and here in California, we have Mexican burritos.
Yeah.
And so it's a good way of really trying it. But when you do that, try to avoid restaurants that say that they can do hamburgers or that can do French fries. And not because it's not good, it's just that it's a touristy restaurant. So you definitely want to experience the more typical ones. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And by the way, we have a great chef that I would suggest anybody to go when they go through Florence, even if they don't want to do a cooking class, just go and have a meal at our chef's house. It's kind of like going to a restaurant, but again, you'll exchange words with other travelers because it's a common table
Okay.
and the food is always great. Yeah.
See, I like the common table because it's you get the chance to talk with people from different areas and up close and personal. And so I for one like that. I enjoy that. But you know me, I will talk to anyone. So I know everybody. It seems like so.
Oh, you're so cute. Yeah, I love when I travel with you, or when you tell me your stories, because you really get to know people. So that's nice. And that's why it's fun sometimes to take the food tours with other people, because you get to talk to them about what they like, have not liked, and just discover places together and really see what it is that they like about the food that they're trying that you might not, and vice versa. It's always an exchange of words.
Yes. So here I see a few things that I kind of like a little bit on this screen. I see the word gelato and chocolate, and I see truffles and Chianti, and so it looks lovely. But these are all tours that you're able to put together for us. And are these all of them private tours, or do you have some that are smaller group tours, or how does that work?
Well, we have some that are small group tours, like 10 to 12 people max. We have some that are private. I would say everybody's got to eat, right? When they travel. So why not experience one of the food tours throughout your trip? And if you want to do one every day, there are so many choices. You could do a truffle olive oil tasting. You can just taste the truffle. You could do the chocolate. You could do the tiramisu tasting and demonstration. You can do a full cooking class. And the good thing is that they're all planned at different times, but the times are inserted in a way that if in the morning they do the Academia and see the David, at lunchtime they could try any of the food tours or just go to our chef's table. And then in the afternoon they could do something else, either by themselves or take another tour. So they wouldn't waste any time whatsoever.
Okay. That's good, because backtracking and wasting time on your vacation is that's tough, because you only have a certain amount, a finite amount of time
Right.
there.
Right.
So here are some more beautiful art pieces, and so I'm sorry.
Like we said, no, it's fine. Like we said, before we offer anything to any of our travelers, and I know you do the same, because we interview them, we understand if they like more food or they like more art. Okay. I like more the exchanges with people and really talking to people and get to know the customs of a place. So when I go through the Vatican or I go through, an art gallery, I don't stop at every single thing. I admire, and then I'm like, okay, let's move on. So if you have people that are really into art, I would suggest this kind of tour where they'll get to experience more in depth and details about the work of Michelangelo. And Michelangelo's last name used to be Buonarroti. That's why if you look on one of your slides, you notice that it says Casa Buonarroti. That's where his family used to live.
Okay.
So you could go and see also what kind of people they were. It doesn't mean, or back then it didn't mean that if they were, artists or whatnot, that they really lived like royalty. That does not mean anything. So it's fun to go see how they used to live and the story behind it too.
I agree. I do agree. So, I enjoy gardens when I'm traveling. I love to be outside. I don't do it as much because I'm sitting here at my desk most of the time. So one of the things I enjoy is going to see historic gardens, and I'm always amazed at some of the stuff that they have come up with. Back in the 1500s, 1600s, that flowing water and fountain and things like that. I'm just like, wow, that they're so smart.
And the reason why, Palazzo Pitti, by the way, Pitti, because the guy that built it and used to live there, his name was Pitti. Okay, but it was one of the Medici residences after Mr. Pitti left. But because it was a royal palace, obviously they added on gardens because that was like a city for them. They used to live in there. But if you have anybody that is passionate about gardens or is part of a garden club, we have done many, many times tours of gardens in Tuscany. And this is one of the places that they usually stop in because it's beautiful. It's, again, in the old Trarno district, so where the artisans are, away from the crowds. It's also a great place to go if you have families that want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Yeah. And again, because the palace used to be a royalty palace, oh my gosh, there are so many paintings in there that if you have the art lovers, they'll go nuts in there.
Oh, that's good to know. That is good to know. So now we are at Rome, it looks like.
Yeah, and the distance, by the way, I forgot to mention the distance between Venice and Florence and Rome. Venice to Florence by train, it's about 2 hours, and the same distance between Florence and Rome. So it does make sense to do the three cities in a line. You know, Rome, Florence, and Venice, Venice, Florence, and Rome. And now that we're in Rome, as it's beautiful. It used to be an imperial city with the Romans, of course. That's where the name comes from. I know you know, but I just wanted to say it. You know, it's nice sometimes to sound more than what we are, I guess. But Rome has a river that goes through, and it's called the Tiber River. Okay, so again, on the side of the Vatican, if you look at the right picture, it's on the left side of the river, and the main imperial Rome, the ancient Rome, is on the right side, and all the monuments are on the right side. The region of Rome is called Lazio, and the capital of Rome and Italy is Rome. But you probably don't know that the capital is Rome, not because it's more powerful than any other city. It's just because strategically it was convenient for the queen and king of Italy to move it there. So they were more secure from any invasions. It would take the people that would invade Italy a long time to get to Rome.
Okay, so that they could get the soldiers could go, the gladiators or whatever could go and take care of them, right?
Right. So anyways, that's why in the 1861 they put Rome as the capital of Italy. But some of the main sites, as we all know, when we go to Rome, is the Colosseum for ancient Rome, the Gladiator, like you mentioned, and the Vatican. So where the religious power, started, and it's its own state. It's the smallest state I think in the world as well, but definitely in Italy. And some of the other sites are, the Spanish Steps, which we would call Piazza di Spagna, Piazza Navona, the Trevi Fountain, Campo dei Fiori, where there is a beautiful market there too. Another nice area, and it's probably the same area from the picture that you see there. It's Villa Borghese, and it's the garden breathing area of the city. That's a lot of fun. There is a small zoo there. Beautiful museum with art in it, where Bernini has a beautiful sculpture. I mean, that sculpture looks alive. The details on the fingers and the body of the sculpture is just amazing. And then, of course, the Pantheon. It's part of the tour of the ancient Rome, but it's a beautiful structure. I still, to this day, am figuring out how they did it, because it has a little hole in the middle, and then the cupola, the arch. It's beautiful. I know you've seen it.
Yeah, it's the way that they figured out the mechanics of the engineering of putting that together. They didn't have computers. They didn't even really have, slide rules like, they had, when my grandfather was doing engineering and things. So, and it's amazing that it's still standing after millennia. It's still standing. So I love that. Now, the catacombs is something that has a little bit of a creep factor for me.
Yes.
But I didn't do it the last time I was there because I did not have enough time. But I've had people that, especially if it was their second or third time, we've done the catacombs and we've done an underground tour for them of the city. And teenagers really get into this. Adults too, but teenagers and boys, they love this.
That's what I was going to say. Teenager is the hit of their touring through Rome. They want to see the catacombs. And it's funny because you can even see it, obviously there are underneath the churches, and it's because of space. Okay, that's why they did it that way. But they can even take a bicycle tour in the Appian Way, the Roman Appian Way. There are catacombs there too. They're everywhere. And like you said, even my son is all into that stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have time. There is stuff for everybody in Italy. So I think that's what's the beauty about the country. Yeah.
Yes. And so this is Appian Way that you were talking about.
There you go. And it can end, with obviously the catacomb tours, but it can end with a picnic. I would definitely avoid the summer months there because, like you see, ooh, it is flat, very few trees. And those are the typical trees, by the way, of the area of Rome.
Mhm.
But you can end your bicycle tour that lasts about, I would say, 4 hours with a nice, refreshing aperitivo. Uh,
But we're not now 4 hours. Are we talking like 4 hours of really pumping and or is it more of a leisurely
it's
ride
really,
and we
it's not,
stop along the way?
it is. And actually, by the way, there is even a tour that does the Appian Way with a little bicycle with a motor.
That's the one I need. That's the one.
And it's a hit. That one is becoming really a hit because people are like, I want to see it and feel the air in my face, but I don't want to bike for 4 hours.
Yeah, I can't pedal up the hills and stuff like I used to be able to.
That's true, but you need to know here is flat, so you might want to try both. Okay, give it a chance.
Motor. I want the motor.
Sounds great.
Oh, so this is what we really need then. If we're going to be eating, we need to be walking, right? And burning off, no motor, just walking.
Yes, and I can tell you that I'm glad it's a walking tour because this is also like 3+ hours with history in between, but there is so much food that at the end of the tour, when you end with a gelato, you actually look up and go like, thank you, it's over. Because you're so full, but it's a way of trying different foods and seeing different areas that you would have not really on your own. Or remember that if you do, a tour on your own of an unusual area of Rome, you might be missing places. It's not only that, they serve you the food and then you leave. You really don't hear the story about the generation, the owner, or whatnot. So this is a fun way of really getting in contact with the locals again. Yeah.
So my question here is that different areas I've noticed become popular, kind of the hot spot for food and things. Right now in Rome, what's the hot spot for the food, do you think?
I would say the area of Testaccio. That's a place that you should go though in the morning, and the reason is because there is a very beautiful market there. And there
Okay.
are people that go there that have the stalls that have been going there for years. Okay, so first it was the dads, and now it's the sons, and then it's the grandson. So they really have good food, and people go there because they know that these stalls are going to be there. In the afternoon, there's really nothing to do. But an area that is actually better in the afternoon, it's called the Trastevere district, which in Italian it means on the other side of the Tiber River. Okay, so that's the area closer to the Vatican. And it's also where the Romans go. That's where the nightlife of the real Romans is. You'll see all kinds of people, all kinds of ages, going through that area late afternoon, evening, and prices of the houses there have increased because they've realized how beautiful it is.
That's a big indicator. That is. Wow, that's good to know.
Very trendy, yeah.
So at nighttime, I know the city is so pretty. We did a kind of a riding around at night, looking at the monuments lit up, and they were just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that if you have people that have seen the Colosseum during the day and have seen the Vatican during the day, there is a way of exploring. I would say especially the Colosseum at night is pretty, but the thing with that, or not the problem, the thing is that you won't be able to see all the rest of the ancient Rome. So this is why I'm saying if you do the night tour of the Colosseum, just so that you know and who's listening knows that you will only see the Colosseum at night, okay, which is lit up and beautiful. Same with the Vatican. It has some restrictions at night. Another great tour to do is the Monumental Rome walking tour at night. There is even another one where they tell you the story of ghosts, all kinds of stuff to do. It's really a hopping place. And the fun thing is that if, let's say, you're going with a friend and the friend really doesn't want to tour as much. You know, you could take a small group tour and you do something at night and she stays in the room or whatnot. Okay. Another great way to see the Colosseum is to dine at this Michelin star restaurant right across from the Colosseum that has a beautiful view of the monument. And when I went to dine there, besides the food being incredible, but I felt like I was staring at a postcard. I couldn't believe it. It was really, really amazing. And as you know, you can arrange that for them. So,
Yes.
and they can pay locally. So it's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot, I'm sorry. And also the chef's dinner. You could do that here too. In the Trastevere district, we have a wonderful lady that invites her friends over for dinner and also tourists. It's so much fun because her friends are hilarious. She's a great cook. And again, you get to exchange a nice evening with locals, and it's all professionally done. So yeah.
That's great. Okay. Well, I'm looking in the chat box. I'm going to look in there real quick and see if we have any questions. Nothing has popped up there. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to kind of get with everybody and
Anytime.
share with me and everybody else about Rome, Florence, and Venice. I know that there's so many other places to see. It's, we always think about those three cities in probably much the same way that somebody from Europe would think about going to maybe New York or Los Angeles. And we know that there's so much more outside of those cities. And so I know that there's some other great and upcoming areas that have been there forever, but people are really starting to get to know them more, and they're becoming a little bit more popular. One of those seems to be Puglia, that I got to go to about a year and a half ago, and people have told me that that's the way that Tuscany used to be, maybe 50, 70 years ago, or something like that. So I know that you still have a lot of things to share with us another day.
Yeah, I would love to help and definitely talk about my country.
Yes. But Laura, I just again want to thank you. Anybody that's listening, again, Laura does customized trips to Italy. She is my top vendor for Italy. We are also personal friends. I know that you couldn't tell that from the way we've been acting, but she offers a great product, and I know that I can stand behind what she tells me, because much the way that I tell you, my clients, that I'm not going to offer you something if I wouldn't do it personally, or if I wouldn't let my mother or my sister or my daughter do it, Laura feels the same way about the products that she offers. And I know that she goes and interviews them, and she inspects them, and she keeps up with them. And if there's a product that, or a property or a tour that doesn't meet with her approval, she won't offer it. And I appreciate that, because that helps me protect you, the client. So again, Laura, any last words for everybody?
No, I just wanted to chime in and say, I think you're completely right in what you said, but the reason why we have that standard is because we don't want it to be a ripple effect, in the sense that if your clients are happy because we sell to travel agents, then it's a ripple effect for you, and in the good and in the bad. So if we wouldn't offer the product that we stand behind, then we would be in big trouble and we wouldn't be around. So thanks to you and the people that definitely consult you for this. It's an honor to offer just the best, because we've tried it all. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I look forward to the next Trish Talks Travel, and we will find out where we're going to go then. Please give me a call, shoot me an email, or send me a message on Facebook. I'm happy to connect with you in any way that you'd like to talk with me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Trish, and everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.